So I am here with the Devel 16 and I'm taking delivery because I'm next to it and it's parked. And according to the social media influencers that have been involved with this campaign, taking delivery means that you can stand next to it and talk about it, perhaps drive it. I'm not going to drive it today, obviously, but I am taking delivery of this car because I am standing right next to it. Hi, my name is Eric, and it looks like the Devel 16 is actually here, and it does appear to be real because I can see it. I can't touch it. And I gotta say, in person, it looks a lot more... It's a lot more impressive in person than it does look on the videos that I've seen. You know, I've always thought the styling was kind of cool. I've never had any kind of issue with the styling. I think it is pretty amazing looking. So this does appear to be the same car that we've been seeing throughout social media for quite a while now. I think it is the exact same car. So this is probably the pre-production version. So unfortunately, there's no one here to answer my questions. So this car allegedly has 5,000 horsepower from a V16 engine from Steve Morris. As far as I know, we still haven't seen the engine in the vehicle, and no one's seen it running except on a dyno video from, I think, 2015 or something like that. Apparently there's going to be 3 versions of this car: the 5,000 horsepower version, the 3,000 horsepower version, and a 2,000 horsepower version. What I don't know, and the questions that I still have about this car, are what kind of transmission is it going to use? They claim that they are developing their own DCT transmission. Now, that's pretty difficult to do. There's not that many auto manufacturers that actually develop their own transmissions. They typically outsource these things, you know, for example, like ZF and other manufacturers. It's very common to use, you know, outsourced transmissions, but I don't know what they're developing. That's pretty difficult to do. Probably more difficult than an engine, but hey, I don't know. I'm not an engineer, so I couldn't answer that for you. So let's walk around and take a look at this car a little bit. So I'm looking at this car, and I still don't see any brakes. So if this car is, you know, 5,000 horsepower, I'm still wondering how they're going to stop the car, because if you look at the car, and I'll pop up some B-roll right now, you can see that all we have is this black plastic thing behind the wheels. And so I don't know how you're going to get cooling into there. That's kind of a question for me. Like, you really do want to cool the brakes in a car with 5,000 or even 1,000 horsepower. You know, heck, even a Toyota Corolla, you want to cool the brakes if you're going fast. I'm not really sure how this car is going to stop. But, you know, that's an open question. It does look like it's a fiberglass body to me, as far as I can tell. Somebody opened it up a little bit earlier, and you could hear the door closing. When he closed the door, it seems like it's just a fiberglass shell, as far as I can tell. There certainly doesn't seem to be anything that is close to being a production-ready vehicle. You know, not at this point, but I'm sure they have some, I suppose they have some other vehicles. So I've got a question about cooling this car too. So that has there seems to be 2 air intakes there. One is directly behind the door, and one is on the lower fender there, ahead of the rear wheel. It's kind of dark, so I can't really tell if the opening by the rear wheel is if it actually opens up or not. It's pretty dark in there. I tried to zoom in, can't see. Behind the door, it's got a little grate on there, so it, you know, could be some sort of air system to pull air into the engine. You know, that's what Porsche does. That's what all the mid-engine manufacturers do, is they pull air in behind there. I don't know where it's going to exit. It's got these 2 sort of flamethrower-looking, you know, jet turbine engine exhaust things in the back. I'm assuming that's for air extraction, but you know, we don't really know. So this does have the Nintendo steering wheel, as you can tell. Maybe you can zoom in on that steering wheel a little bit there. So, you know, this does seem to have the same interesting steering wheel before. Probably not going to be that great if you actually want to drive the car at speed or maneuver it around with that steering wheel. It looks to be... It's sort of an odd shape, to say the least. It does have the interior that we've all seen in the videos before, too, with this blue sort of couch material sort of stuffed up under the headliner there, up in the front of the dash, too. So it's very... You know, it still has a very, very kit car kind of look to it. Interesting seeing the back of the panel for the display there too. It looks like, I'm not sure what it's constructed of, but it looks very, you know, sort of very, very hand-built at this point too. So what I'm really not sure about is how much of this car is the interior, at least, is going to make it into production, how much of this is going to look like the actual production car, and how much this is just a concept right now. I mean, certainly, you know, if you think about who the market for this car is, obviously it's people who just want something really exclusive, something really, really interesting, something with a lot of flash. But I look at other exotic cars around here, and they've all got interiors which are, pretty amazing looking, with carbon fiber and, all kinds of interesting inlays and all that. But this seems to be just something much different than that. And I'm not really sure, again, like, who's going to pay this amount of money for a car like this. I guess I get it to some degree, but on the other hand, if I was paying this amount of money for the car, yes, it's exclusive, but I want something that perhaps is a little flashier inside too, if you know what I mean. So let's look at the rear of the car here, and I guess the air extraction system. So, for aerodynamics and also for engine cooling, you've obviously got to get the air out of the car. For aerodynamics, you want to be able to have downforce to keep the car on the ground. So I'm not an aerodynamicist, but I certainly don't see any wing over here. There is something that sort of looks like it's in the body. I'm not sure if it rises up. I'm not sure what the function of that is, if that's a wing or not. But looking at the actual rear of the car here, so we've got these things that say Devel 16 on either side. Now these are not open. These are just closed off, so we're not getting air extraction out of here. The only place I can see air extraction would be from these big sort of jet turbine looking, I don't know what you call it, exhaust. I'm not sure that's exhaust, probably, out the back. So if you've got exhaust going out of there, then where are you going to get the air out of the back of the car? Kind of an open question to me still. But they may or may not be exhaust vents. I don't really know. And on the, I guess, the engine cover, there are some closed off looking, they look like they're vents, but right now they appear to be closed. So I'm not really sure where the air is getting out of this car right now. It could be coming, but if it's coming out underneath the car, that's going to create lift, so you don't want that. So I'm not really sure how the air is getting out of the car right now. And these pieces over the rear wheels, these sort of vent looking things, those appear to be solid as well. I don't think those are actually opening, so I got some questions. So we looked at these wheels over here, and these wheels seem to have weights on them on the inside, which, for a normal passenger car, that's completely normal. You need to balance the wheel. However, if you're going 200, 300 miles an hour, I don't think you want wheel weights, because what if they fly off at speed? And also, you need to have perfect balance at that kind of speed. You don't want to have anything that's going to be even a little bit off, because that's going to cause some kind of disturbance and some kind of wobble. So I'm sort of questioning these wheel weights, but this is still clearly a pre-production car. So I'm looking for air extraction here above the wheels, and those black stripes appear to be tape. They're definitely, in fact, they are tape of some sort, or paint. There's definitely no air coming out of there. So again, I really have a question as to how the air is getting out of this car. I could see the exhaust, perhaps. Perhaps they're streamlining the air through these big jet turbine type exhausts here next to the actual exhaust, but I'm not exactly sure. And I'm sort of curious about this this piece above the exhaust, like this sort of inlay here. I don't really know what it is. I mean, it looks like it could be a wing of some sort. I've never seen the vehicle moving with the wing up. I've never seen that wing up in any of the videos, so I don't know if it's a wing. It's certainly, if it is a wing, it has a pretty odd shape to it. This sort of shape like this. I don't know how that would affect aerodynamics of the car. Typically, a wing is going to create downforce by creating negative pressure underneath the wing. So again, questions, so many questions. So previously it was reported that MAT, an Italian firm, was going to be building this car, but according to reports back later last year in 2018, MAT has pulled out of the project. So the owner of this car, the Devel 16 people, said that it's going to be developed in Texas, or rather assembled in Texas. We don't really know who that's going to be at this point. So, looking at the front of the vehicle here, we have these vertical surfaces that look like they're vents, but they're not. So they're just hard vertical surfaces. So I'm not quite sure how the air is going to work there. And then you've got this sort of lip coming over this vertical surface. So again, I'm not an aerodynamicist, but I'm guessing that you're going to have some airflow going up in there that's going to be swirling around in front of the car because it's not a smooth surface. You've got places for the air to get caught. Think about it like if you had water, basically. So air is going to act somewhat like water. If you put water in there, it's going to be swirling around, it's going to be coming out the front. So I think it's going to create a bunch of turbulence. Again, if there's anybody that is an aerodynamicist, please let me know. But that's an interesting way of doing the front of the car. We don't have a completely flat surface. We've got a place to potentially trap air. Underneath the car here, under this front lip, you can actually see a little bit underneath the car there, and it's pretty difficult to see what's going on, actually. There's really not enough light, but you are going to be able to get air underneath the car, and I really don't know how the airflow is going to work under there, but it does look like it's going to capture some air and put the air underneath the car. So apparently there's going to be 3 versions of this car. So the race-only version is supposed to be 5,000 horsepower. I'm not sure if it's going to be a drag type car or if they're going to be competing, at road circuits like Le Mans or, something along those lines. It's sort of difficult to say where it's going to be competing, if it's going to be a track car. Maybe the Nürburgring. I wonder what kind of time this would put down at the Nürburgring. That would certainly be very, very interesting to see, and I look forward to their testing at the Nürburgring. But for the street versions, you've got a lot of issues it's very, very difficult to develop a street legal vehicle. You've got emissions, you've got crash standards to meet, and those are very insurmountable barriers for a small car company. I think it's incredibly difficult to meet emission standards nowadays with all of the increasing CO2 regulation and so forth, especially in Europe. Very, very, very difficult. Crash standards again are a thing. I don't see any bumpers in this car. I really wonder how crash-worthy it is because this appears to be just a fiberglass body. That's my guess. My guess is a fiberglass body on some kind of perhaps a tube frame or something like that. It's not really too easy to see, what it looks like. I have a Discord server if you want to come and chat for free. It's going to be a link down below in the description. I've also got a Patreon, and if you're interested in helping defer the cost for travel so I can go to car shows like this and film the Devel 16 and other cars, hopefully the C8 Corvette, I'll put a link to that below too if you want to help support the channel. If you'd like to subscribe, that would be super awesome. I'm going to have some more videos on this car and some other cars too. My name is Eric, and I will see you in the next video.